This week on World Stories. From non-swimmer to surfing star in South Africa. Dial a divorce in India. But first to Afghanistan, considered until recently a safe country of origin by German authorities. More than 100 Afghan asylum seekers have been sent back there in recent months. We meet one of them in Kabul.
Fear, alienation, and loneliness. These are the emotions that Rahmat associates with Kabul. Last December, the 23-year-old returned here on the first deportation flight from Germany, where he'd lived for 6 years. He's afraid to show his face for fear of the Taliban, from whom he had fled at the time.
The Taliban murdered my father because he was a famous general. That's why I fled. If they find me, they'll kill me too. I can't go out on the streets. I'm afraid for my life. It's not safe here.
Rahmat looks at pictures from Germany. He misses his friends from the vocational school he attended until 2012, when his asylum application was rejected. Migration officials didn't believe his story, and 4 years later, they deported him.
It's not fair. After 6 years there, we were integrating. I learned the language, I did training. It was never easy, but we did it. And I think it's wrong that they would simply kick us out.
Today he has an appointment at the aid organization Amazo. Its founder, Abdul Ghafoor, willingly went back to Afghanistan a few years ago. Now he's helping deportees like Rahmat, providing counseling and emotional support, and helping them find work.
They are in a situation that they do not know where to go. They do not have families here. They do not have network here. They do not know how to find work. They're afraid of the security situation. So yes, they are sending people back to nothing. As a result, what happens is that because they don't have anything here, they don't find hope, they don't find any means of survival, what happens is that as soon as they are deported back, they leave the country again.
Rahmat is staying with friends, but it's hard for him. He doesn't want to burden them. And he doesn't dare to return to his home in Ghazni. He doesn't know where his mother and brother are living. Like many refugees, he's lost contact.
I've tried to locate my mother, but I just don't know where she is. I don't even know if she's alive or dead.
Fleeing to Europe again isn't an option for Rahmat. He doesn't have the money to pay the smugglers. And he has no prospects either. For now, he exists in a vacuum, neither welcome in Germany nor Afghanistan, living somewhere between the past and the present.
When he was a young boy growing up in Cape Town, Kwesi Kika was scared of the ocean. Now he's one of the best surfers in South Africa.
Kwesi Kika is one of the best longboard surfers in the world. In fact, he could almost be #1 if you take his story into account. Kwesi learned to surf in the turbulent Atlantic Ocean, even before he could swim.
I really wanted to try the sport for a long time, but obviously I couldn't swim, so I had to prolong my time of surfing. It was very, very scary when I did eventually come over the fear of not knowing how to swim and stepping up to going in the water and being in the water where I can't swim. But I was so dedicated that I looked past that.
Longboard surfing is often seen as more artistic and graceful than the shortboard version. As a young boy, Kwesi used to sit on the beach and watch the surfers. Back then, surfing was seen as more of a white person's domain. But that didn't stop Kwesi, nor did his lack of experience in the water. That was when Kwesi was 9 years old, and ever since then, he and his surfboard have been inseparable. He actually surfed for 3 years before he even learned to swim. All he had to depend on to save him out in the water was his board. But it wasn't just any old board.
I was lucky. My mom actually bought me a board, which cost her, I think, close to 800 Rand. But she managed to get that for me. And that board was my life.
That was a lot of money in the poverty-stricken Ocean View Township back then, but it was money well invested. Gang crime is rife there, and many of Kwesi's old friends spent time in jail. Kwesi has become a popular trainer for affluent would-be surfers along Cape Town's beaches. He also has sponsoring contracts, but his heart is with Ocean View and the kids there who attend his free lessons.
Go to school, surf, because basically when you surf, you get yourself tired, you know, and just go out there and just you in the ocean, you understand? Nothing is stopping you there. That's where you are free, you know, that's like your office. And I think that was my call. Actually, even if you're staying in the hood, doesn't mean your dreams are crushed, you know, there's still potential. Anything is possible, you just gotta have a vision.
To be like Kwesi, to stay out of trouble and do stuff on your own and go on with your life. Don't do wrong stuff.
That is Kwesi's most important message to young people. With donated boards and wetsuits, Kwesi takes the kids down the same path that he once took on his way to becoming one of Africa's first world-class surfers.
So-called Islamic divorce in India means some Muslim men divorce their wives in seconds by uttering the word talak 3 times. As a result, women are often left destitute and without access to their children.
Revisiting painful memories. In the home that she shares with her sister and niece, Asifa Parveen looks at photos of her wedding 4 years ago. Her family had to pay a hefty dowry, but her in-laws and husband didn't think it was enough. They harassed and abused Asifa. Finally, her husband, Kamran Ali, uttered the word talak, or divorce, 3 times over the phone, ending their marriage of over a year in the space of a few seconds. Asifa Parveen, who was pregnant at the time, turned to the police, but they couldn't do much. Muslim marriages are usually not registered, and there is no law banning instant divorce. It's a situation that Yasmin is all too familiar with. The 29-year-old works in a slum in South Delhi. She wants to raise awareness about the practice of verbal divorce among Muslims and mobilize women. Yasmin says widespread illiteracy and the stranglehold of patriarchy leaves women highly vulnerable when they're abandoned. The issue has triggered intense debate in India. The country's top court is reviewing the matter, amid growing calls to ban the practice. But not everyone agrees. The mid-17th century Fatehpuri Mosque is a famous landmark in Old Delhi. The Imam of the mosque, Mufti Mukarram Ahmad, says triple talaq is an issue of faith and personal law and cannot be tampered with.
Muslim personal law hai.
There should be no change in our Muslim personal law, which is Sharia. This is God's law. It's based on the Quran and on the Prophet's sayings. Women know very well that in the Sharia, if there's a marriage, there could well be a divorce. If you don't like it, why get married in the first place? There should be no outside interference in our faith.
But that doesn't fly anymore with women like Asifa Parveen. She wants a ban on triple talaq and a tough penalty for offenders, so that her daughter is spared a similar ordeal when she grows up.
Our last report takes us to Germany. Several times a week, Irmela Schramm heads out with what she calls her activist kit. She uses it to remove pro-Nazi stickers, an activity that recently landed her in court.
Irmela Mensa Schramm is a retired teacher with a mission. Several times a week, she heads out with what she calls her activist kit. The main tool in it is a scraper, which she uses to remove pro-Nazi propaganda stickers.
Our country, our values, identity movement. I'd classify this as being from an intellectual far-right group whose views are pervasive in our universities.
Sometimes people on the street praise her for what she's doing. But there are also times when people tell her to leave the Nazi stickers alone, like here in the Lichtenberg district of Berlin.
To say that I'm not achieving anything when I do this is absurd. I'm sending a message to the Nazis that there is resistance.
Mensa Schramm keeps a scrapbook of what she's collected. She has around 70,000 stickers dating from the mid-1980s, all filed away in close to 90 binders. It's a huge archive of old and new designs from the far right, and she uses them in lectures she gives to raise awareness about extremism. When she finds hate graffiti, she spray paints a heart over the hateful message. Last year, she was cited by the police, who charged her with property damage. She was taken to court, where she received a suspended sentence and fined 1,800 euros. The 71-year-old has since appealed.
They have the crazy idea that what I do is to damage property, but Nazi propaganda doesn't interest anyone.
She's disappointed that the authorities charged her despite her dedication. At one point, it earned her Germany's only federal decoration, the Order of Merit. But she handed it back in defiance, saying that the government wasn't supporting her enough. She received a donation of 850 euros for her court case, if it turns out she's forced to pay the fine.
That's clean. Now I feel good.
Jetzt fühle ich mich wohl.